There you go.
We restructured and recutted how the whole flow would be. And at some point, we sent it back to the publisher. They did whatever they do. And a couple of months later, we got a box with books. And now we're doing book talks, and it's available on Amazon. And it's actually pretty exciting. And the whole process of writing a book together and going through this process, it was very interesting.
And we get really good reviews from people that we know or people that we don't know, that basically this one is more interested in our life story. This one is more interested in the story about how you build a company and how do you go through the process of transactions. So different people take different angles and different pieces from the book, and they keep saying that it's helping them a lot.
Yeah, entrepreneurs who say, look, it's not a dry business book written by someone who never ran a business. It's actually very readable and understandable. And it's an easy read, but it's also has lots of nuggets in there that you can take away. So people find it very useful, which is good to hear.
Yeah.
It's nice.
Yeah, I love that. It's you know, I'm gonna go on the Amazon and check it out myself and see what insights I can get. Is great conversation. How can people find you on social media, contact you, follow you? Obviously the book's on Amazon, and so forth.
Yeah, the book's on Amazon. Eldov Group is our website for the company, our investment company that has different links. Of course, we're on LinkedIn. And
LinkedIn, Facebook.
Facebook, but yeah, LinkedIn, I think, would be the best way.
Yeah, and let's thank Elma and Dov for some really insightful conversations. I love these stories of partnerships and business, either friendship or marriage, you know, these successes. It all comes down to timeless principles, and all of their resources will be in the links and show notes, as well as check out their book. And with that, thanks so much for coming on to the podcast.
Thank you. Really enjoyed it. Thank you for inviting us.
Thank you very much.
Hey, guys. Welcome to this week's podcast episode for the Financial Freedom Podcast. And I'm excited for this episode. As you know, I started my financial freedom journey dissecting the components of freedom. So time, financial, location, health freedom. And once I had that, I sought out people that were embodying that and getting the distinctions and insights and sharing it with the world so they can live wonderful lives. So today I have a interesting topic is a couple, Elma and Dov Levy, and I'm going to pull up their bio, but they're husband and wife entrepreneurs and authors of the new book, Partners in Life and Work, that we're going to talk about a little bit later. Today's topic is going to be all about success in the entrepreneurial business, marriage and family, travel, living life to the fullest, and making impact. So I'm happy to Elma and Dov to the show. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you
so
very
much.
Yeah.
Being here.
Thank you for inviting us.
I'm happy, and I'm you know, there's very few guests who specialize in, you know, marriage and these types of topics. So tell the audience your origin story, your secret sauce to success, how you got started.
The secret sauce to success.
I wish we knew that.
Okay. Well, you know what? Success is a little bit, at the end, you look back and you go, yeah, this was a success. As you are in the journey, you don't really know that it's right. You just do the best you can. One thing, though, when you just mention freedom, as in financial, health, and what was the third one?
There's location.
Yes. I think it really struck me that is so true. You need all these different dimensions. And I think we got there. So if that's how success is defined, that's what it is. So to go back a little bit, we really are excited to be invited to be guests on your show. So thank you so much. We are husband and wife. We are also first generation immigrants. We came to the United States in 1982. Dov is from Israel. I'm from the Netherlands. So we don't even speak the same primary language, but we make it work. We're married 40 years. We started, my background actually is in healthcare. I was a nurse. I became a nurse practitioner and was working as a nurse practitioner. And then at some point, we decided we had the opportunity to start an IT company, which I was very reluctant to do together, because I was convinced that husband and wife should not be working together and have a business together. And so I started, it was a temporary thing for a couple of months. And then I found that I really liked it and started organizing. And before we knew it, the company grew, and we started out in the attic of our home. Then we got to office space. At some point, we got to a stage where we really needed a different strategy to grow. We had the foundation, we had everything. Growing was difficult, so we hired an outside CEO, and he is very specialized in deal making. Buying companies. So we bought a few companies, we grew the company, and then sold it to private equity. That's the story. And now we're married 40 years, and we sold the company first 90% 4 years ago, and then 2 years ago the remainder. And now we're retired.
Well, when she says we're retired, we're not really retired. I think our definition, we were talking about it for many years. What does it mean to be retired? And our definition is, at that stage, you could do whatever you want, kind of. So we actually started a different company after we sold all our interest in Dovel. And we are now investing in early stage startups that basically are in the intersection of health, Elma's background, IT, my background, that are very early stage startups and are showing promise to solve some problem that we believe are worth solving. So that's what we're spending our time. We also travel a lot. We have been traveling for the last 10 years. But first we were doing it while we had a company, so there were a lot more constraints. And now we just travel whenever we want to.
Yeah,
that's where we are.
That's a very amazing journey. What I like to highlight, one book that really changed my life was it's called Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. And, as it applies to you, because what it really did was it really opened my eyes, because before that, I thought you had to be a celebrity or athlete or, a CEO to be a millionaire. But actually there's this story of these, hundreds of millions of millionaires, living very, vibrant lives. You never hear about them, but so this idea that, this idea of marriage and family success, what's the secret sauce? Because, you see the divorce rate in the United States is, it's grossly high. It's, a lot of people aren't getting married, not having kids. So what is the secret sauce?
It's actually interesting because Elma and I speak at the School of Business at the Johns Hopkins University or at George Washington University. And when we talk to MBA students, many times they come up with a question after we talk a little bit about our past. They ask the question, what do you think? Should me and my wife start a company and do what you did? My answer is always immediately yes. Elma's answer always is immediately talk to me first. So we have different perspective about certain things, and maybe you want to talk about some of your thoughts on it.
Yeah, I think that it's important to understand, and this is really written up in the book quite a bit, because it's a big thing. If that doesn't work, then none of it works, right? This was the whole thing had to work from all angles. We decided on separate swim lanes. We're in the same pool, but we have separate swim lanes. I'm not a technical person. I can have a technical talk. I understand the concepts, but I'm not a technical person. So I was doing all the building of the corporate infrastructure and the governance. Dov was doing the IT, always being on the cutting edge, the customer facing. We very much understood where we were, where we belonged. Of course, there is overlap. The important part of that is not just understanding the different swim lanes, but also respecting them. One is not better than the other. And you can't have one without the other. So from the beginning, I said, my corporate infrastructure governance is never going to be called back office. We do not use that word. That just has a bad flavor to it for me. And so we both understood that it needed both swim lanes to go forward. And then when we added, I was at the time the CEO, knew very well the whole private equity, buying, selling companies, that wasn't for us, was totally not for me. So we brought somebody in, that person we highly respected, and he also understood now there was a third swim lane, and it needed all those, that we all had our strengths of making this work. And I think it's something that there needs to be self-awareness of where your strengths are, what really works, and what everyone, it's a three-legged stool. One leg not working, the whole thing will just fall over. It just doesn't work.
But one other question that we get many times is, how soon can I start a company, come up with an idea, and sell it for a lot of money?
And be like you guys.
and we're saying, you're seeing us at a point in time, but you didn't see us working hard, 10 years ago or 15 years ago, things like that. So you really need to figure out, how long do you want to do it? How hard do you want to work, you and your spouse or you alone? What is the criteria by which you decide that you want to get out? When will that happen? How will that happen? But many times especially on the internet, on TV, you hear, somebody came with an idea, boom, got an offer, got $100 million and sold the next day. It doesn't really happen to most companies like that.
It didn't really happen. We did not start out in the beginning thinking we are going to make ourselves millionaires. It wasn't ever about the money. It really wasn't. It evolved. We saw possibilities as we climbed up that ladder. So that's how it evolved. So
yeah, interesting. I'm curious what resources people if they want to go into business with their partner. The other question is, are all marriages fit for business partnership, or are usually, it's like my wife, she's like the professional, and then I'm the entrepreneur. Like if we both work together, it wouldn't work. So tell us more about that.
So I don't know if it would be for every couple. I think, to say that it was always perfect and wonderful, no, that wouldn't be reality, right? I think there has to be the commitment that you're going to stick with it, unless we won't go into reasons why you wouldn't, but the bottom line is you need to be personally very resilient, and your relationship has to be resilient. And you have to understand that when there is conflict, there's just another layer now because you have this business together. You can't come home and vent about how bad it is at work. You can't have that. So I think it's just important that you understand that, everything is temporary. And if it is difficult for a while, that's just part of it. And it will, you'll get stronger because of it and you move on. But not everybody gets there.
Right. So. Well, first, when we look at it today, we are saying there were many times we were at the fork in the road, multiple forks, and we took this road and it worked, but we could have taken a road and it would not have worked. So we always knew that in the back of our mind, that it's possible that there would be a problem there. Now, we would try and work hard to resolve those issues, but there could have been something that we could not have resolved. But secondly, the question is, are both of you willing to take the same level of risk to some degree or another?
Yeah.
Because if one of the partners want complete stability and the other one wants serious risks, that may put a serious stress on that relationship. And you potentially will come home and you have kids and you're having dinner and you're arguing about the risk and the issue and the possibilities. It may put significant risk on your business. And in general, people are talking about that in businesses like that, there is much more than 50% divorce rate. Actually, it is more closer to 70 or 75% divorce rate, because there are some serious conflict that can arise. And if you don't respect that, then you can get into some serious problem.
So I think it comes down to respect, resilience, and risk tolerance. I think really those three concepts, there needs to be compatibility. You don't have to be exactly the same, but there needs to be compatibility there. Otherwise, it's just constant conflict, and that's exhausting.
Yeah, really great advice, and it's like the advice you can't, you can go to a book, and then you have to seek people out who are living this type of life, so you can get the insights. You can't get it from TV or media, and then it sounds like it's like you have to really know yourself, and you have to know your partner, and you have to make it work, and kind of be intentional and strategic in how you set things up. What kind of work you do. That's why it's great to share.
And even in the book, we talk about what we call the adventure travel. And adventure travel is trip to, in the early days, we would travel to Israel or the Netherlands, and, you email, you phone calls, keep going after you. It doesn't really care. But if you go and try to climb the Kilimanjaro, you try to go to the middle of Africa, there are no communication, there are no emails or things like that. So what we basically found out is, one, when we do the adventure travel, the company has to figure out how to survive without us, which is good for everybody at that level. But it's also, we could plan, decide what kind of risk we're willing to take on our adventure travel, prepare, keep our health going, because we want to do something fun. Also, we are out of communication for a week maybe, or something like that, which is good for everybody involved.
Talking about, you wrote a book. Tell the audience about it, what it's about, where they can find it, the key ideas, and they can go and search for it.
So, everybody can find the book on Amazon, and really the main place.
Yeah. I want to make sure I understand your question, and then there was a little bit of an interruption.
Oh, yeah. So you got a new book, Partners in Life and Work. What does kind of give a teaser? What's it about, and what can the audience expect?
So when we were past the transaction and we sold the company, we didn't think we had a story to tell. We just had lived it, and we had lunch with two lawyers that we knew for the last 10, 15 years. They had been our corporate counsel and from Cooley. And they said, guys, everyone in the local IT government contracting industry talks about you and how you made this work as a couple, starting from nothing, building it to a big success, bringing in an outsider who, by the way, we are still good friends with, which is also extremely unique. Usually there's
some friction that nobody wants to talk to anyone after that.
Right. We're still good friends. So all that, we managed to make it work. And we said, well, we don't even know. We've never written a book. Who wants to read something like that? And then we thought, children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, they may at some point want to know who we were and how this all came about. So we thought, well, this will be a nice project. So they introduced us to someone who got us started, who wrote a proposal, and then someone else. And ultimately, we got a publisher through an agent. And then it's funny because we knew so little about writing a book that we said, okay, so now who's going to write a book? And they said, well,
you are.
You are.
You better sit and start writing.
Yeah, so we started writing. And that was really interesting because we decided on who was going to write about what. And it was, so then the first draft, we gave it to two very good friends and to our son. And we have two adult children, a daughter and a son. We gave it to our son. They came back with really good